Hello and welcome to the Purple Sector's F1 podcast, post Mexican Grand Prix edition. My name is Kunal Shete, and joining me on podcast as always is unbiased fan and the voice of reason of the Purple Sector's Shashank Shete, and fully biased fan and the undercut queen Pooja Reddy. Hi guys, welcome to a new episode. This is going to be a very fast episode because of technical issues in the great land of India. So let's begin. It's going to be super fast. It'll probably be our shortest episode, which a lot of people will appreciate, I think, because we go on for almost an hour. so let's
So let's less time to rant about Checo. But let's go.
We'll do a special episode just for him at the end of the year. So let's just dive into quite an intriguing and fun race, I would say. So let's get into the post-race debrief. Started off with a front row start for Ferrari out of thin air. They were nowhere throughout practice. They were 13th and 15th in FP3, and then they were quite bad in Q2 also, and then just came out of nowhere. So that was a strange one. And qualifying in general, again, delivered top three separated by less than a 10. And then you had a certain Danny Ric who slotted in P4 and beat Checo. So this is our first mention of Checo in a negative light in this podcast. So we had Checo in 5. But yeah, I think overall no real surprises in quali other than Ricciardo being there. I mean, Ferrari in a way was surprising.
Ferrari was a big surprise because even the drivers, when they were asked, they
were also surprised.
They did not expect to be on the first row. Not only that, Leclerc, who's supposedly the king of qualifying, but even Carlos managed to be on the front row.
Yeah, and just I think it was surprising. And also what was again surprising actually in quali is everyone's final runs were slower than the penultimate run. Usually in quali you see between the two runs, finally the run which gets you ahead is the one which is the last one because the tracks are burdened. So it was an interesting qualifying.
A lot of the pundits were asked this question and nobody really had a plausible answer to why the final runs were slower than the earlier runs, except for I think Lewis. Lewis was quicker in his last run.
This Lewis and this guy, apna Lord Malfoy, I mean George also. Both of these guys went on a scrub set in the first run, so it was expected that they would do better anyways in the last run. I think that was their run plan throughout qualifying. But yeah, I think Lewis was the only one who did better on his last run. So yeah, it was like always in the sense through this season. I think qualifying was at a peak level. It was a fun qualifying session.
Also, everybody talks about Danny Ric, I think, beating Sergio, who had a quicker car. He also beat the Mercs and the McLaren. So he not only beat Red Bull, but he beat a lot of other cars also, was supposedly quicker than him. So way to go, Ricciardo.
Yeah, Lando had a shocker. So Lando had a shocking qualifying.
Lando, yes.
But it was a bit topsy-turvy, unexpected in many ways. But yeah, I think qualifying delivered yet again. Which comes to our second point in the race debrief, which is Danny Ric truly returns. Qualifying, like we mentioned, P4 ahead of Perez and also the McLarens. I don't think we should be even talking about the Astons being anywhere, which is a separate rant that we will go on later on. But yeah, Ricciardo truly returns because he backed it up in the race. I mean, he was outstanding in the race, defended well, had reasonable pace, and in fact almost got this guy Russell at the end, George Russell.
Yeah,
so, and the smile and also
returns. Also in the qualifying, I think the first two runs, that is the one in Q1 and Q2, he had Yuki, I think, to give him a tour. but the
Yeah.
Q3 run was purely Danny Ric, so he didn't have anybody to help him out also.
And in the car that he has, that work.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I know AlphaTauri was literally fighting for being second last with Haas, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Haas is to become like
Haas is
they've gone
gone.
ahead
Like
of
we said,
It's very bad.
as we spoke about it the last time, Haas is purely there for DTS, like you said, Drive to Survive.
Looks like it. Looks like it. But yeah, all in all, I think we would all agree. I think it's just we are all. I mean, the world of Formula One is happy to see Danny Ric do well. Such a likable guy, and let's just hope this accelerates his return to the main Red Bull team, which is a good segue into point number 3. Perez shambolic again, and also a mention on how Mexico booed Leclerc. I mean, they went after my boy, and that really pissed me off. Like, I don't know what he was supposed to do.
I know.
Perez did his classic Perez move from God only knows what he was attempting, but it reeked of desperation. That it was just something in his mind space is that he's absolutely to the wall now. While it was a very Perez move, it was still something which was so desperate. It kind of tells me that his seat is absolutely on the line. What did you guys think? Firstly, of his great move, and secondly,
Yes.
about why they
I mean,
booed Leclerc. I would like to hear from you guys on that.
The move was anyways not the best. It was definitely not on. But even afterwards, when they asked him, I think he was he could have just said that, you know what, the move was not on. I saw the video footage of what happened, and I agree that it was not on, and it was my mistake. But even after that, he kind of was trying to justify why he made the move, and I think that really shows where his mind is at. But again, I don't know about the second Red Bull seat, because I think Red Bull would want a strong number 2 in terms of a number 2. I don't think they want somebody who's going to challenge Max, because I don't think they want to have a complicated situation like what they had before. So I think purely for that, Checo might still be able to keep his place.
Then he
Pujam, what do you think about this?
And damaging the car and all of this stuff. And yeah, like had he said it was his mistake, I think the crowd wouldn't have booed Leclerc. He was crying on about his rant and how he thought he could.
Yeah.
It's kind of surprising because even like before, everyone was aware that the incidents happen at turn 1 and you have to go into it carefully. So then when you're aware of how things have gone in the past, you should.
Yeah, like Kunju said, that was a move totally out of desperation.
For example, Hamilton has apologized for his mistakes before, and nobody's booed the other person. I get that this was Checo's home base, but I don't know if he was milking the fact that he could get some sympathy.
That's a good point. I think he was milking it. He was trying to get he wants pity from everyone.
Yeah,
at
so
this
then
point.
that's why Leclerc.
So he wanted pity of the fans also. So and then they booed Leclerc for what?
That's what. Had this guy admitted
I'm not going to comment on the public booing, not booing people, because I am not going to blame the driver for the public's behavior, because I've seen this happen in other sports also. For example, if you look at football, or even if you look at cricket, now there are fans that are going to boo somebody from the opposition team, but then I'm not going to blame the cricketer or the player for the fans' behavior. I think
most unemotional person I have.
Unbiased fan.
Unbiased, unemotional. It is voice of reason, facts. Okay, correct. No, all of it makes sense, but I mean, it is a non-emotional way of looking at things.
Yeah,
but the driver doesn't have control over the crowd. Yeah, but he can still. He doesn't have complete control. But they were like, fans in the crowd going and hitting Ferrari people and all. I think he should have been a little bit better in the post interview that he gave in the pen once he was out, and then they showed it on F1 TV while the red flag was there.
Yeah.
Like you said, like we had discussed, that like he could have worded it better. It was almost like he had absolutely no blame. He had to go for it, and not once he said it was something of my doing, or it was at least it's a racing incident, so it's no one to blame. At least that would have just helped calm down a crowd which is known to be a little bit
Okay.
on the boil anyways. So I mean, at that point, maybe it's difficult for us also to get in Checo's shoes to, for him to think about that part, because he obviously had a lot more on his mind, including what the other's going to happen, and is Danny Ric going to finish? He's looking strong in the race.
I agree that he should have probably worded it a little differently.
Yeah.
But like you said, he was trying to milk the situation and get at least somebody on his side with the pity, because if you looked at the footage of what was happening even after the incident, he thought he would get some pity from his race engineers, but he was just standing in his garage looking left, right, and center.
Good point.
Everybody was probably not even making eye contact with the guy.
Yeah.
So then he went and I think stood beside Christian Horner, and Christian Horner, I think, saw what was happening and just took him under his wing, embraced him and said that, Checo, these are the last 3 races for you. So
yeah, I was just coming to that. Like, no one knows what he's telling him, and there are a lot of memes of a leopard, putting a hand on a goat or something.
Yeah.
Saying,
so at least if he knows that these are his last 3 races, he probably won't make desperate moves like this in the final 3 races, because he knows that he's out.
Yeah, or maybe he knows he's out and he's just saying, I don't care anymore. Let me just try to, get a win. Maybe I'll push Leclerc into Max and then I have the best chance. Like, because Max has also been out. Because that also was a possibility. Honestly, they were 3 wide into the first corner. I think all possibilities were there. But yeah, it was a classic, Checo miscalculation. Like, there's another meme, I calculated in my mind, but I saw all the permutations coming, but boy, I'm bad at calculations. So, but yes, so meme fest on Checo's going, and we've also added to that with our own little reel and all on Checo, which will continue for the rest of the season now. Couple of quick things before we go to the special shoutouts. One was the contrasting fortunes for the Mercs. Hamilton was absolutely stunning, and George was again way off. In fact, like we mentioned at the start, I think Ricciardo almost got him at the end. So that's something to look into. Something that I think Sky Sports on their podcast were discussing yesterday's issue. What we saw, Pooja, was that it's a possibility that now Merc feel that they've got a car which is going really in the right direction that they want to, and they want to hedge their bets with Lewis for 2024. So all the updates and all that's being put in the car is purely basis Lewis's feedback, and it's to help him get the 8th, because at the end of the day, Merc want the 8th for Hamilton. Hamilton is obviously the guy who's he's definitely got a better chance in an equal car to beat Max. They want to hedge their bets there, and then if he gets his 8th, he moves on, and then they can figure out if then they want to bring in George as the first driver and then put all their efforts into him. So this is supposedly where it's going at, and I think it makes logical sense. I think
fair enough. I think it does make logical sense, because you can't really please both drivers at all times. I think it happened only in that one case in 2016 where I think Rosberg and Lewis got on top of the car equally well. But yeah, it's very rare to have two people really at the peak of performance at a particular constructor.
I think that's absolutely that's I think
so. Yeah,
again
a very similar thing that happened in this race was also with McLaren, because Norris came from P17th and finished ahead of Piastri, which was a little surprising for me. I thought, yes, Norris is quicker than Piastri, but I didn't think that he would come from so low with his starting position. And even having those really bad starts, he managed to get past Piastri.
Didn't Piastri have contact though somewhere? Wasn't that
Yeah, he
him?
had a little bit of contact with
He
that
did.
Yuki. Yuki was losing his mind as usual. Like a child is. He's like an absolute child. The contrast in both of their radios after that little incident was too good. This guy was just yelling, shouting, whatever. This and Piastri,
Piastri
like,
moved on.
yeah, he just drove into me
Yeah,
and then
he
just
forgot
continued.
that he was in a race. He started waving his hands and beating the steering wheel, and after
Yeah,
5
like a
seconds, he
child.
realized that, you know what, I'm still in the race, and this is not some
This
BS
is
game that's happening.
this kind of behavior and demeanor is not going to get him even close to a Red Bull seat in the future.
Not
He
even
has
Red Bull.
to grow up and mature. Like,
I would feel like even AlphaTauri is going to have to think about, how long are they going to give Yuki to mature, because this has been happening for quite some time. It's been
yeah, it's
what,
a
3
strange one.
years?
It's
3 years
just
in AlphaTauri?
Sorry?
yeah, I
Has
think
it been
3 or 4
3
years. I
years,
think
or
it's
maybe more than 3 years
more
also?
than that. Yeah. No, it's tricky. I think he's got that raw speed, but he's a complete lunatic. Like he's just crazy. I mean, it's great for us. I mean, for me at least, as a fan, I like to see this guy because he's got so much to give. He's got a personality, but in terms of if you look at it in a holistic way and from a very level-headed thinking kind of guy, the guy he's a whack
Really
job.
immature. Yeah.
What he's going to do. Which brings me to a couple of things. So Shashu mentioned the Norris space. So that was one of the key points of the debrief. I thought his he's been a little off, I would actually say, in qualifying the last 2 3 years because he's been outperformed by Piastri. Somehow that one lap may he's just not able to hold it together. But his pace during the race, like Sashu mentioned, was absolutely stunning. It was unbelievable, and in a place where it's not very easy to overtake, he was lining up those moves perfectly. The move on Danny Ric was awesome. The move on George Russell was awesome. You had that Lance Stroll trying something random at in the stadium section, like one retard. But yeah, Loris was the driver of the day, which he got that driver of the day award also. He was stunning. And just quickly going back to a point that we were mentioning with regards to how different Lewis and George were, and they hedging their bets, and then Shashu mentioned driver number 2 in that team, how important it is to hedge your bets with one driver so that you don't have that inter-team rivalry. We have to give a shout out to probably the best number 2 of all time, which is Valtteri Bottas. I think he was absolute perfection. He never missed a Q3 in the Merc. The stats, again, I'm just borrowing the stats from the podcast we heard yesterday on Sky Sports, is 30% of the time he actually beat Lewis in qualifying, but he was never a threat. So that's why Lewis also loved him. The team loved him. He is the ideal number 2, and he's got some good stats on his qualifying and his race. He's never been like the guy you would laugh at, saying that he's just so bad. He was always good. He was steady. You can it's like doing a home investment that you will itna to bhi milega. You will get at least this much percent returns. Like that is very safe investment. He was a very safe investment. So yeah, just that kind of concludes our race debrief. 3 special shout outs I have. One for Albon, again in the points, fabulous driving again. Aston Martin have become a joke. They have become a joke. I mean, I think if you look at what's coming out of Fernando, the stark difference between this, the first half of the season and the second half of the season, he's again looking disinterested. There was a rumor that he'll replace Perez. I think his own management team has started that rumor because he doesn't have time to do a long a long
And
stint saying that we're looking
yeah,
at
correct.
and this is as brilliant McLaren have been in terms of going from right from the bottom to the top. It is incredible how a team like Aston Martin, which was the second best team to start with, have gone to the back of the grid, which just goes to show that you can copy paste a car, but at the end of the day, you have to know the ins and outs of how that car works, so that you can develop certain parts to make it quicker. So I think this is a big problem with the way that that whole setup thinks about developing cars. This is not the first time they've copied a car. They've done that with their Racing Point. They've done this again, and I
And
think it's something.
it also helps when there is good feedback coming from two drivers. So I think Alonso's probably giving
That's
good
true.
feedback.
That's
but
true.
But Lance is half the time crashing out of races and qualifying. So if there's not going to be
Yeah.
good feedback coming from two drivers, then it's going to be difficult to develop a car.
Poojams, you had something to say?
No, what Shashu was saying. Good one, Shashu.
Yeah, I think from what I heard, Lance gives his feedback as doodles. He doodles something and they will like, "Beta, what is this? This no one is able to understand what you're saying."
And there were some silly rumors of even Lawrence Stroll wanting to
Selling
sell
out.
off Aston Martin, which is like we saw last night. I think that's ridiculous that he's going to invest so much in the team and in building a new facility, and then after 2 years he's going to say that I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah,
not how
last-
business is going to work.
2022 ka the launch of the car though was about him talking about that facility only. He didn't talk about the car only. He just talked about facility. It has so many people. It has this big dining room. It has this. It has that. So like he said, I don't think he's going to push out anytime soon. Finally, a solid Leclerc podium in spite of the booze. He had damage. He drove fantastically well. Actually, both the Ferraris absolutely maximized their pace, but they're still like 20 points behind Merc. So I think it's going to go down to the wire. But I think Merc will probably have it because Lewis is in very, very good form.
The damage
So-
worked for Leclerc also apparently. He was
All
quicker
right,
with
some
the
people are
damage.
trying to make fun of this. No? That is rubbish.
Yeah, that's just like it's half a meme.
Yeah, that's we don't entertain these kind of memes on this podcast. Sashi, you can get show that show both show me at least the finger saying that this is also what I want to show. We are an unbiased podcast. But coming now to my biases, since this was a request from Poojams last week, I have come with a new segment called Rhyme of the Week. So obviously the rhymes are going to do not with when Ferrari fuck up, it's only going to do when Checo fucks up, which is going to be a weekly event. So I'm going to rhyme again. I'm just setting the context. The context is Checo speaking to Christian. So this is the rhyme. Christian going, "Hey Checo, did you think the race was fun? Not for me, Christian. I couldn't get past turn 1.
Good one. Going to become a
So
poet
that was-
by the end of this podcast.
Rhyme of the week. Yeah. That's the new segment, specially dedicated to Checo to get me more hate from the Checo fans. Moving on to our usual segments now. Let's quickly move on to our 3-word race review. I leave it to y'all to start off with. Who wants to start first? Pooja, you want to go first this time? Last time was Shashu. This time it's you.
So I have
Go
a
ahead.
couple of them, but I'll start with my main one.
Hmm.
It's 2 words. So it is in this together. That's my 3-word race review. So in this together, I'll tell you why. US Grand Prix, Lewis and Charles, they got disqualified together. But Mexico Grand Prix, they both made it to the podium together. Then when it comes to the 2 Ferraris, front row lockout for Ferrari and Quali. So that's P1, P2. And then the race they finished P3, P4. So again, together. And then for, I think the second time in a row, but quite a few maybe 1-2 more times this year. Carl Lando finished together behind each other, whether it was podium or no, it was. That's why
Oh,
my in this
Wow,
together.
in
so
this
deep
together.
and going
So
into
beautiful.
history also.
So
Wow.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other random ones were tears for Checo because I saw like babies crying and like young kids crying, and I'm sure I didn't see Checo crying, but whatever. Tears for Checo was the other one, and for obvious reasons, Honey Badger's back was my third one for Ricciardo. Those were mine.
Pooja come with
Wow.
three-word race reviews.
Three like very deep ones. Like now
Volumes.
I have to follow up, and mine is such a simple race review.
Please go ahead, Shashi. Simplistic also is good.
Simplest,
Pooja's is
very
deep.
simple.
You do simple. Yeah.
Yeah, my simple 3 word race review is thank you, Checo. Now, the thank you, Checo is for again 3 reasons. One is obviously he has reiterated the fact that I think from the last 3 years, I have always maintained that Checo is not a great driver, and he has reiterated that again. So thank you, Checo, for that. Second, as much as Kunu said that he thought the race was interesting, I think it was a little bit of a slow burner. And there have been races in the past also which have been slow burners that Checo has, tried and ignite. So thank you for that, Checo. And the third reason is what we spoke about, I think, sometime back about Checo going and standing behind Christian Horner, and Christian Horner telling him that, you know what, Checo, you're out. Thank you for your services. Thank you, Checo.
Thank you, Checo, but you're
What?
done.
Thank you, Checo.
You're saying it's not deep. This is again 3 layers deep. So you guys are going with some really layered 3-word race reviews.
And I did three,
But,
three,
brilliant
three
stuff.
with three, because last time I think you guys said 4 words and 4 reasons. So I've kept
Good
it
one.
down to
This time-
I am yet-
three reasons and 3 words.
I am
Good
yet
job.
to get a sign-offs from the affidavits that I've given you guys. You guys have torn this thing and thrown it in the bin, saying that we
This is
do
an
what we
indirect-
want to do.
But
It's
giving
an
options.
indirect. Yeah, it's an indirect finger to me only. Again, this Ashu's to just giving me finger left, right, and center. What a guy. Cool, good, awesome 3-word race reviews. I have also come with a fairly simple 3-word race review done on turn one, which is quite self-explanatory and kind of goes with. I think I would.
Isn't that 4?
It's not
affidavit
turn
time?
one. It is turn one. And it's a syllable. one is what? It's a number. It's not. I'm not writing turn
3
one.
words and 1 number, Shashtu. It's not.
Oh,
Done on turn
okay.
one.
Oh.
Yeah. What? You guys.
Okay, now I understand.
Done on turn one.
But
Yeah, that's the 3-word race review, which is aligned to our Checo theme. I think Sashu. I think we can combine the 2 3-word race reviews, saying thank you, Checo. Done on turn one.
Yeah.
yeah.
Not so much. I don't know if it was him who ignited the race. What ignited the race? Actually, no. The red flag actually kind of killed the race in a way, because then everyone could make their changes on tires and then have one stint till the end. So yeah, I think Checo ignited that race. It ignited the crowd in one different way, that the crowd wanted blood. I mean, who goes and in the crowd you're seeing people whacking the Ferrari fans? No? It's just he was poor. It was poor from what we saw in Mexico should never happen in any race. So that was not such a good thing that we saw at Mexico. And honestly, that track also, you expect a lot from it, but this is probably the best race it's delivered in 3-4 years. Otherwise, it's even flatter. So that's why I say it was quite interesting. Moving on, smooth operator is what we are looking for from you guys. Sashu, where you start? Who was your smooth operator for the race?
I think my smooth operator is Danny Ric for the race. Maybe the driver of the day was Lando Norris, but again, this was all a part of his doing, because
Vibes.
he didn't qualify well, Lando, so he
Mm.
had to make those moves and come from the back. And he also did not start, I think, well after the first start or the second start. So it all looked uh, like a attacking drive, but I think Danny Ric pulled off the smooth operator for the entire weekend, from practice to qualifying to the race. He stayed out of trouble. So I think for those reasons, for the entire weekend, I would say Danny Ric was a smooth operator, and Lando was my driver of the day, probably because he had a more attacking drive. That's all. So I could remember a lot of stuff that Lando did, but yes, smooth operator would be Danny Ric for me.
For the
Okay,
first
I
time.
think we have two. I think there are only two options here. I think
Yeah.
between you have to pick and
After
choose
very
between.
long, we're going to pick the
Yeah.
same drivers, and after
Pooja,
a
you
long
gone for
time,
Danny Ric again?
I went
You're
for
also going
Lando
with
and
Danny Ric?
Ricciardo. That's what I've written both.
Yeah, I also had gone for Lando, but from Sashu's monologue, I think
Yeah.
you know I've
So if it
I
was smooth
have
operator of the weekend,
I'm
then definitely.
considering. Yeah, I think let's just sync up on this and say, I think Danny Ric, I think, deserved being the smooth
He
operator
had
of the
some
day.
injury. Only the
Yeah,
second
he
race
was
after
smooth
injury.
throughout. He was super smooth. Like Sashu said, I think Lando was at fault for the qualifying as well as for the second restart, especially. So it was a little bit of his making while he was outstanding in the race in terms of his moves and his pace. Danny Ric just didn't put a foot wrong. So yes, Sashu, your monologue has worked
Wow.
wonders on us. We
We all
have all
agree.
synced up.
Yeah.
We have
Wow.
synced up on our smooth operator of the day. It's been, I think, 2 races since we didn't sync up on the same person. But yeah, I think this was between the two, and I think it's fair that Danny Ric has to be the smooth operator of the day in terms of what this smooth operator of the day stands for. It has to be smooth.
Yes.
It's to be super
Exactly.
smooth.
Wow,
Nothing. Right? It's just everything under control. Correct. Lando
Yeah, I
didn't have
think
it all under control. Yeah.
correct. I think even his interviews were very smooth. He always had a smile on his face. He was always so positive. It really seemed like the Danny Ric of old.
Old Danny
Yeah,
Ric.
he's positive. I'm positive. Yeah, I think he has a good effect on me. Some of these sporting fans, as a sporting fan, you see some guys and you're happy to see them in a good space, and B, they give you, good vibes. So
Oh yeah, for
yeah,
sure. So I think a lot of us actually maybe watch sports or go to sport to get it's a pick me up for a few people.
yeah. I
If you're
currently I
if you're
have
having yeah.
it's a bit of a task. I have 3 sports. One is outstanding. One is more than acceptable. I'm liking it. One is giving me some torrid dreams. My
Yeah, it could
football
go either
team.
way. It could be a pick me up or it
I
could
mean, I
bury you
have
also.
decided. Yeah, it's literally burying me every match day. It is just not a good position to be in. So I have the other sports who should be able to,
So
kind
it's
of
all
counter
balancing.
that.
Yeah, it's balancing
It
everything
is.
out for you at least.
It's the problems of being a sporting fan. Yeah, it is.
How do you
It is
be
taxing.
unbiased sporting
You
fan?
go, man. You are
Like-
unbiased. I cannot be that unemotional about things like this. Sashu's last time he was emotional about Formula One was when Kimi was around. I think that since then he's been completely robotic with his. I am an unbiased fan. So I think it's the right intro for you.
As we come to the end of the season, he's really shelling out the very good reasoning and logic and impressive.
Yeah, I mean he's preparing monologues and coming and giving like
Coming with
his.
layers and layers and good one. Very good improvement.
The shoe's taken to this
Aston Martin, but
like a fish.
Very good.
Yeah, like a fish to water. He's really taken to really putting his points across in a way which is worthy of making your own notes, saying, "Arey, this is some good stuff."
I'll take some credit. I know you're following.
I was just going to tell you that I think a lot of credit does go to Pooja
Whether you
for the
say-
layers at least, just peeling the layers.
Cool. So let's quickly run with the points on our undercut leaderboard. It's another semi-shocking weekend for me. Pooja, let's start with you because you can tell me how many points you got and we can just move on. We
I
don't
think
have to
only two I
discuss
got.
how you got
For
this.
Hamilton finishing ahead of Russell,
Hmm.
Carlos top 5, I said. Checo
Some
also had
Spanish
like top
speaking this
5.
thing you had, no?
Y-
Acha, yeah, you
Yeah,
had that.
I said
That was a
Alonso top
shocker.
10.
that did
0.
happen because of Alonso. Yes.
Checo and
Yeah.
Carlos, I said top 5. Only one player. And I said Hamilton ahead of Russell. So you want to give me 1.5 also, it's fine.
Correct. Cool. Sashu, so Pooja gets 2
No,
points.
Pooja gets
She's
2,
gonna-
yeah.
she's going to extend her lead. So how many points
I
do
get-
you have, Sashu?
I had 2 points. So one, I said Mercedes are going to finish in the top 4, both of them, but
Hmm.
it was just
Hmm.
Lewis. So I don't get any points for that. But then I said that the pole sitter is not going to win the race. So I get 1
That
point for
though.
that.
As soon as Charles went on pole, you should have just knocked it out. 1 point. Yeah.
So yeah, 1 point.
Thank you, Checo, you can say again.
Thank you, Checo.
So how many points that is, Sashu? This 1 point or 2
So that's
points?
one.
You said
That's one for me. No,
One
I
point.
had two. I
One.
had 2 undercuts, so I get 1 out of.
you get 1. Okay, cool. So mine also is 1 point I get. Perez outside top 5. No, the outside top 5 technically is, yeah, I get a point there, bro. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
he
he's
didn't
top.
win.
He's outside everything.
Yes, outside the race.
He's outside the team also almost. So you
Yeah,
get 10
so
for
I
that.
get no, I'm not going to get greedy with my outside top 5. So that's 1. Albon in the points 2. So I did pretty well. I got 2 points. Lance Stroll makes it to Q2. I don't know if I was high when I made that prediction. It was so bad. Max gets booed. Now Sashu's already told me no no. I mean, in very straight, he's given it to me that
It's
Max
a no,
technically
no.
didn't get booed. So I don't know. Did he get booed, Pooja, or only Charles got booed?
Only Charles
Did he
got
get booed at some point in the weekend? You have to really look intently.
booed.
Free
Listen,
practice
if you-
too, Sashu, he got booed.
Yeah,
What you're
if
saying?
you look at it technically, then you can go and find one guy who went and booed Max.
Yeah.
Okay. No points for me on the booing
Especially
bit.
that he came up in his that whatever in that thing.
With the sombrero on.
I think people would have preferred to see Checo on this.
Fair point. Okay, 2 points. 2 points is still strong. Sashu 1, Pooja 2. I also got 2 points. So the leaderboard is also taking
Some
shape
points,
now.
yeah.
Shape in the sense, Sashu, you have to really have a blinder in the last 3 races to
Come on, Shashi.
So
You know,
blinder
to
meaning now
equal me.
Yeah, so
Equal
I can
me
do
on
like
points.
5 undercuts and then get 3 out of that, or I can do 10 undercuts and get
Yeah.
7 out of that.
This Sashu is a
That's-
purist. He's saying that that's not the way, which is fine. So
Yeah.
he is looking
So
to
we
change the rules for next
So
season.
I am also
He's-
going to send you guys an affidavit. So wait for that. Get your lawyers also ready.
So how many? Okay,
Arre
you
Baba.
decide how many undercuts.
He
should
wants
you
to put only 1, it seems.
Okay.
That if we
One-
don't
one or
end up
two?
on 0, it will be 0. No, we should.
No, that's what. No,
No,
not do
I
one.
think
Yeah, not do one. One is a little difficult, but because
No,
it's
2
an
at
undercut
least.
and it has to be a little hutke, so we can do 2 or 3, not 1.
2 or
But
3?
everybody
Okay,
does 2
whoa,
or
whoa,
everybody
whoa.
does 3.
So Pooja, let's give Sashu the
Yeah,
dice now
no
to
problem.
come up with his undercuts for Brazil. So we just we'll write it down.
Yeah.
Yes,
How many
Sashi,
will
what are
you
your
do? I'll
undercuts?
So I
For
have
Brazil.
I have 3 undercuts for Brazil. First one is I have 3 different constructors on the podium for Brazil. And I
Fantastic.
have
That's a very good one.
I have at least 2 safety cars or virtual safety cars. So it's not only a safety car during the race, not the sprint, just the race.
Hmm.
And my third one is Norris overtakes Alonso in the championship. I think they have a gap of 14 points. So I think Norris is going to finish at least second or third, and I don't think Alonso is going to score any
2 points for
so,
sure, Sashik. 2 points for sure, I think.
So those are my
very
three
strong undercuts.
for.
I think the virtual safety car one also is interesting. It actually might come true because it's a kind of a high speed track and things happen in Brazil. Pujam, what are your undercuts for next race?
So the wacky one is that I'm going to give Alonso a hat trick for DNF, so he won't.
Oh.
Wow, where have we come to?
Wow, where have we come to from the start of this? Two good Pujams.
Minimum
Vibes.
one person will be common in both sprint and race. You can take it as person or constructor, either way. So if they finish on the podium on sprint, then race also. And I have three more, but I have to pick one. So I'll give McLaren a podium.
Sashu has scared you.
In the race, I'll give McLaren a podium. These are my three.
So the first one though is if that comes, I think it deserves an applause. That back.
Yeah, hat trick of DNFs.
That's crazy. Yeah, where have we come to?
Doesn't finish then. Yeah,
Possible. I think he's not interested, so he himself will just say, I don't want to drive this car, so I'm retiring the car. Nothing they'll be able to tell him also. He'll just say, this is shit. I don't drive these kind of cars. This has gone far, it's gone south and how. I'm not going to take this anymore. And I'm going to park the car.
I got one back.
Possible.
Normal.
Possible.
Yeah.
Cool. My undercuts are... people might think I've become a Lewis Hamilton fan, but Lewis Hamilton win. Ricciardo top 8. Perez crashes again. Perez crashes again is a very vibes wala undercut. Also, it gives me, it gives me a lot of happiness, peace, and a chance to come up with one more nice rhyme. Because this rhyme of the week has to be, it's only in association with what Checo does on the track. Maybe we can also consider Logie or Stroll, but right now Checo is the one who's really delivering in terms of content. So I think those are my undercuts. As you can see, I'm actually gunning for 2 points. The third one is purely on vibes. But it's also possible. It's as possible as Fernando doing a third DNF. It's crazy. Chalo, cool. So I think we finally got a chance to do this. We've kept it below the 45-minute mark, which is unique for us. we had to, get ourselves to steam through, go through the whole podcast a little quicker this time. Also for technical reasons, but we've managed. So someone looking down on our podcast saying, nay, they should be able to finish it without any issues on a technical aspect. So good job, guys. The gods have smiled on us, podcasting gods. But let's hope for a fun Brazilian Grand Prix. It always delivers, so I'm very excited. It's also at a time where we can actually see it without feeling like we're going to, pass out. So let's we'll come back on this, catch up on the Brazilian Grand Prix next week. Until then, it's goodbye to everyone. See you guys on the next one. Peace. Ciao. Bye.
Bye guys.